Imagine it's Saturday morning. You're at the grocery store, and you're standing in the aisle, staring at two different brands of olive oil. One is $12.99. The other is $10.49. You spend 5 minutes, maybe 10, comparing the labels, checking the volume, and calculating the price per ounce in your head. You choose the cheaper one. You feel a tiny hit of dopamine. You just saved $2.50. Here's the thing, that 10 minutes you just spent. It might have actually cost you $1,000. Look, we've all been raised on the same financial gospel. Watch the pennies and the dollars will take care of themselves. Skip the latte. Live below your means. And for 90% of the population, that is fantastic advice. It's the foundation. But there is a very specific, very dangerous point in your wealth building journey where saving money stops being a virtue and starts becoming a massive liability. There is a net worth threshold where your obsession with frugality actually becomes the very thing holding you back from becoming truly wealthy. Today, we're challenging the biggest assumption in personal finance. I'm going to show you the math on why your saver's mindset has an expiration date, the psychological reason why you're addicted to small wins, and the exact moment you need to stop looking at your bank statement and start looking at your calendar. Because if you don't flip the switch, you'll end up comfortable, but you'll never be rich. The math of diminishing returns. Host, let's get real for a second. Why do we save? We save because, in the beginning, our labor is our only asset. When you have $5,000 in the bank, finding a way to save $500 a month is a 10% increase in your total wealth. That's huge. At this stage, your savings rate is the most important number in your life. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the average American household saves less than 5% of the disposable income. If you can bump that to 15%, you are literally winning the game. But here is what most people don't realize: the math of wealth is not linear. It's exponential. Let's look at Investor A. Investor A has a net worth of $50,000. They spend 10 hours a week couponing, driving to a cheaper gas station across town, and DIYing home repairs they aren't qualified for. They save an extra $400 a month doing this. Over a year, that's $4,800. That is a 9.6% boost to their net worth. Now, look at Investor B. Investor B has a net worth of $1 million. They have that money invested in a standard S&P 500 index fund. On an average day, the market fluctuates by 1%. That 1% movement is $10,000. Investor B could spend all day clipping coupons to save $10, and it wouldn't even register as a rounding error compared to the movement of their capital. If Investor B spends 5 hours trying to save $50 on a flight, they have effectively lowered their hourly rate to $10 an hour. This is the frugality flip. There is a point, usually when your annual investment returns exceed your annual savings potential, where your time becomes infinitely more valuable than your expenses. If your portfolio moves more in a single day than you can save in a month of being frugal, then every minute you spend trying to save money is a minute you are stealing from your future self. The psychology of the small win. Now, you might be thinking, but money is money. Why wouldn't I save $5 if it only takes a minute? This is where it gets really interesting. It's not about the $5. It's about your brain's reward system. Psychologists call this the present bias. We get a bigger chemical hit from saving $5 now than we do from the abstract idea of making $5,000 later. Frugality is a defensive strategy. It's about contraction. It's about saying no. Wealth building is an offensive strategy. It's about expansion. It's about saying yes to the right opportunities. The problem is that saver brain is a hard habit to break. We become addicted to the feeling of being disciplined. We wear our frugality like a badge of honor. But as your net worth grows, that discipline turns into a cage. Think of it like a rocket ship. To get off the ground, you need massive amounts of fuel and huge boosters. That's your frugality. It gets you out of the atmosphere of poverty and into the orbit of stability. But if you don't jettison those boosters once you're in space, their weight will eventually pull you back down. You wouldn't expect LeBron James to spend his off hours mowing his own lawn to save $80, right? Why? Because his time is better spent recovering or training. His offense is so powerful that defense, saving money on chores, is a literal waste of his potential. You need to start treating your life like a pro athlete treats their career. The opportunity cost of the DIY trap. Let's talk about the DIY trap. This is the ultimate wealth killer for the middle class. You have a leaky faucet. A plumber quotes you $200. You think, I'm not paying that. I can do it myself. You spend 2 hours watching YouTube tutorials, an hour at Home Depot buying tools you'll never use again, and 4 hours actually fixing the thing. Total time, 7 hours. Total money saved, $200. You just paid yourself $28 an hour. If you're a high earner, or if you have the potential to build a business that earns $100, $200, or $500 an hour, you just lost a massive amount of money. Here's what most people don't realize: wealthy people don't save money, they buy back time. They pay the $200 for the plumber so they can spend those 7 hours building a sales funnel, networking with a mentor, or even just resting so they can perform at 100% the next day. When you are below the frugality flip point, you have more time than money. So, you trade time to get money. When you are above the frugality flip point, you have more money than time. You must trade money to get time back. If you continue to trade time for money after you've already hit that threshold, you are effectively capping your own growth. You've stopped being an investor and started being a low-wage employee of your own life. The frugality flip number. So, how do you know when you've hit the point? What's the number? It's different for everyone, but here's a simple formula to find your personal pivot point. 1. Calculate your hourly rate, take your annual income and divide it by 2,000, average working hours in a year. If you make $100,000, your rate is $50 per hour. 2. Calculate your capital movement. Look at your total invested assets. Multiply that by 0.01, a 1% market move. When a 1% move in your portfolio represents more money than you can save through a month of hustling for discounts, the game has changed. For most people, this happens somewhere between the $250,000 and $500,000 net worth mark. At this stage, your focus needs to shift 180 degrees. You need to move from how do I spend less to how do I earn more on my capital. If you have $500,000 invested, a 2% improvement in your annual return, say from 7% to 9%, is worth $10,000 a year. To save $10,000 a year through frugality, you'd have to cut $833 a month out of your budget. For most people, that requires a massive, painful sacrifice in quality of life. But finding an extra 2% in your portfolio, that might just take a few hours of research, a better tax strategy, or moving to a lower fee brokerage. The effort required to save an extra $1,000 via frugality is linear. It gets harder and harder the more you cut. Eventually, you're eating cold beans in the dark. The effort required to make an extra $1,000 via capital allocation is asymptotic. It actually gets easier the more money you have. Strategic consumption. Now, I want to be clear, because I know what some of you are thinking. Are you telling me to go out and buy a Ferrari and blow my money? No, absolutely not. There is a difference between spending and investing in your capacity. When you're above the flip point, you should spend money on things that increase your output. Outsourcing, laundry, cleaning, administrative tasks. Health, high-quality food, a trainer, a better mattress. A 10% increase in your energy levels is worth millions over a 30-year career. Education, paying for a $2,000 course that teaches you a skill in 10 hours that would have taken you 200 hours to learn on your own. This is where the frugality brain fights back. It feels wrong to pay someone $50 to mow your lawn when you have a mower in the garage. But you have to look at the ledger. If that $50 buys you 2 hours of deep work, and your deep work is worth $150 an hour, you didn't spend $50. You made $250. Most people stay in the middle class because they can't handle the guilt of paying for service. They think they are being responsible, but they are actually being inefficient. The final insight, the wealth of perspective. Here is the final, and perhaps most important, insight. True wealth isn't just a number in a bank account. It's the ability to occupy your mind with higher level problems. If your brain is constantly occupied by which gas station has the 5-cent discount? How do I split this bill 3 ways? Can I afford the extra guacamole? Then your brain does not have the bandwidth to solve. How do I scale my business to $10 million? How do I restructure my estate to protect my family for generations? What is the next major technological shift I should be investing in? You cannot solve level 10 problems with a level 1 mindset. Frugality is a level 1 mindset. It's a survival mechanism. And it's a great one. But it's not a thriving mechanism. The most successful people I know are frugal with their time, not their money. They will spend $1,000 to save an hour, but they won't spend 10 minutes on a phone call that doesn't serve their mission. Action steps and conclusion. So, what do you do with this today? 1. Audit your time. For 1 week, track how much time you spend trying to save money. 2. Calculate your pivot point. Use the formula we talked about. Are you approaching $250,000? If so, it's time to start hiring out your life. 3. Identify one low-value task. Pick one thing you do yourself purely to save money, and outsource it. See how it feels. Use that reclaimed time specifically for income-generating activities or high-level learning. Look, the goal isn't to become wasteful. The goal is to become impactful. Saving money is how you start. Investing time is how you win. Don't let the habits that got you out of the hole be the same habits that keep you from the summit. You've done the hard work of building the foundation. Now, have the courage to trust the math. Flip the switch. Stop saving pennies and start building a legacy. If this challenged the way you think about your finances, hit that subscribe button. We're going deep into the psychology of wealth every week, and I don't want you to miss the next one. Thanks for watching. Now, go buy some of your time back.